Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to another exciting edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law, where we'll discuss topical issues from the legal point of view. My name is Solomon Offem. Now, the issue of security in Nigeria is we can't overflow it because the security situation is getting worse and worse by the day. So today we'll be discussing insecurity in Nigeria, and of course from the legal and the lawmaker point of view. So today, how lawmakers can help fight insecurity in Nigeria. Now remember that the National Assembly via the House of Rep invited the presidency to come and have a chat with the House on the security situation in the country, and the president did not accept that invitation. Of course, there have been the calls for the presidency to fire the service chiefs growing louder and louder by the day. But then this situation is also getting worse for the president, because while we think one issue is being nibbled about, another security issue arise. Before now, the fight was with Boko Haram. Then after that, the Niger Delta insurgency came up. But now it's a whole different ball game. Everybody is in on the insecurity issues, with especially kidnapping on the rise on a daily basis. Now, this is what we're going to be talking about today. Once again, I'm Solomon Offem, and this is the Democracy and the Rule of Law. Go for a break. Have my guest. I'll welcome them and we'll start talking. We'll be right back. It is good to have you back. This is Democracy and the Rule of Law. I have a barrister, Ayo Osho, in the house today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Vigas, and compliments on the season.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you. We're meeting for the first time, so I am the new one here on this program.
Welcome.
And I have a barrister, Kingsley Chime. I got that correct, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Democracy and the Rule of Law. Okay, now let's take a look at insecurity, but this time from what should I say, the law or the lawmakers point of view. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a lawmaker today, because I tried to, first of all, let's see how it will be from the lawmaker's point of view before I come to you. But everyone is in the festive mood. so I couldn't get anyone. But I'm sure from being a legal practitioner, you have an idea of how to navigate the lawmaker's point of view to this discussion. Now, let's quickly take you through some of the insecurity that happened in the past few days, which means we're still trying to heal from the Kankara boys, and after that we've had more kidnappings and more Boko Haram coming in. Now, residents flee as Boko Haram attacked 4 Borno villages. Residents have fled their home as Boko Haram terrorists attacked 4 villages in the southern part of Borno State. According to a local source who are on the run, the attack happened at 9 p.m. on Saturday. The insurgents rode in at least 10 Toyota Hilux vans, and they were first seen around Mandari Dirau at about 1 p.m. The insurgents were said to have proceeded unchallenged through part of villages identified as the Biro, Tashan, Alaba, and so many other towns, shooting sporadically, looting food items, and setting houses ablaze. Now, this happened on Saturday. That's yesterday. Then, as if that was not enough, gunmen suspected to be kidnappers have abducted the chairman of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, in Kaduna State, Apostle Emmanuel Bako. A report by the security agencies revealed that Bako was kidnapped along his wife, Cindy, and one other person on Christmas Day in Jemas local government area of the state. And now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked President Muhammadu Buhari and the state governors to disclose the security votes for their state in 2021. SERAP, in a statement issued on Sunday by its Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, called for measures to be put in place to prevent the misuse and embezzlement of public funds in the name of security votes. Gentlemen, let's start from there. How important will this be, as in SERAP asking the governors to disclose security vote for 2020, what difference will it make?
You see, I'll start from the Constitution. Section 14 of the Constitution states clearly that the primary responsibility of the government is the security and the welfare of the people. It shows the importance of security and welfare. Both are connected together. You see, the essence of government itself and law itself, if you go down through history, it is the peace of the realm. You see, if law itself cannot maintain peace, then law is useless.
Exactly.
So presently, if the Constitution of Nigeria says that the primary duty is saying that the essence of government, the reason why we have government itself is number one, the security, then secondly, the welfare of the people. If the people are not secured, if they don't feel safe in their homes, they cannot do business. You understand? So security is paramount, and that is why we have the government in place. Because I used to say that man is a political animal. And why is man a political animal? Because the family itself, your family is supposed to protect you. It's from the family that the government evolved. John Locke virtually said the same thing. So if people are not secured in any environment, the government is useless. It's not doing its bit. And look at it. President Buhari himself said on his verified Twitter handle that the security chiefs have not impressed him. He admitted in that speech he made after when he made the Kankara boys that were released. So now, from the lawmakers' perspective, you see, the armed forces itself is a product of the Constitution of Nigeria. Section 217 of the Constitution clearly states that there shall be an army, number one, then a navy and an air force. Then Section 218 actually gives the president the power to make certain appointments into all this.
Now, before we go to that, so we won't jump the gun.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is this SERAP issue now, asking the governors to disclose.
I'm still going there. I'm going there. You see, if the armed forces of Nigeria were created by the law and their appropriations come from the law, from the National Assembly, every fund that is given to the armed forces or any other establishment that receive funds, appropriation from the National Assembly, anybody, according to Section 28 of the Constitution, can be invited by the National Assembly.
Which means the National Assembly or the lawmakers have
oversight over anybody, any organization that collects money, appropriation from the National Assembly. Meaning that SERAP is very right. There was a time on this program that I wrote out the security votes spent by each state in Nigeria. I mentioned quite a number of those states and the money they're spending on security. And my argument was that, look, security and welfare are connected together. If you recall, during the NSAS insecurity, during the COVID-19 insecurity, when those bad boys wanted to take over Lagos, people started securing their environment. And the governor of Lagos State did promise that he was going to be spending 100,000 naira on those miscreants in each local government of Lagos State. You see the connection? So security and welfare are connected. So the security votes, actually, SERAP is on the right track. SERAP has the right to know because the money belongs to Nigerians. It's not the personal funds of anybody. So SERAP is on the right path. I'm totally in support of what SERAP is doing. Let those who spend security votes account for those funds.
Now, but the question is, what difference will it make, them coming out to
such information? Yes, I was also wondering, much as I agree with my learned friend, that the SERAP has the power under the Freedom of Information Act to request for certain information from the agencies of government. The essence actually is to ensure that the government, the money being appropriated for a particular purpose is properly utilized. So, but like you rightly mentioned, If the governors divulge such information, the number of amounts they receive as security vote, what difference does that make? The issue of security, like you pointed out, and my friend also alluded to it, is a fundamental issue. It goes to the nitty-gritty of government. In fact, any government that failed its people in protecting its citizens has failed. It is an impeachable offense. It is a gross misconduct. It is something we should not trivialize. It is something we should not politicize. You know, from 2000 and over the last 10 years, Nigeria has gone through a lot of troubles. In fact, I read recently, 2 days ago, the Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Kuka, made a figurative expression. He said that the roads to graveyards are busier than those to the farms. What he's saying in essence is that we are recording more deaths. People now need security or military clearance for them to harvest their crops. People are being ambushed, banditry, armed robbery, terrorism, Boko Haram. These are issues that were at the front burner prior to 2015, upon which this government came into power. And
they campaigned
rigorously using security. And one would think that the President, Muhammad Buhari, coming from a military background, would have the wherewithal to be able to contain this issue. But it appears that things has even degenerated from what it used to be in 2015. So SERAP asking the governors is simply trying to show that monies have been appropriated. What actually have you used those monies to do in ensuring that security of lives and properties of citizens are well taken care of? That is the basis upon which SERAP may have requested for such information. Yes, I do know that under the Freedom of Information Act, there were exemptions. There are certain issues that are privileged, cannot be divulged.
For national security sake.
Very well. But what the SERAP is asking is in tandem with the provisions of the Freedom of Information Act.
Now, but at this point in time, can the government now come out to say, well, because of national security, because the national security issue is getting worse, do you think they can still come with that national security clause of not bringing out, any information?
You see, like I said, if you just Google, you find out the sums being spent by some of the states. It's not really that much of a secret. But since SERAP has gone to court using the Freedom of Information Act, it means that SERAP has demanded, because there are prerequisites before you can activate the Freedom of Information Act. You need to demand. You serve them a pre-action notice also, and there must be a demand for that. It's a strict procedure. So SERAP must have asked them. They have not divulged the sums they are spending on security. That's why SERAP has gone to court. But the thing is that, so far, many government establishments in Nigeria simply refuse to honor the courts. They refuse to obey the Freedom of Information Act. That is the simple truth. So, but where do we go from there? It is the duty of the governors of states and the President of Nigeria to provide security for the people. It's our duty. The way the President is in charge of the armed forces, that is the governor too, theoretically, is the chief security officer of his own state. And you recall how people have made a mockery of security vote. When the late Adedibu in Ibadan, removed the governor, sitting governor in Ibadan. It was over this issue of security. And what did Adedibu say? He said that the lad was talking about security. He said that he himself is the security of Oyo State. You understand? Because he was in charge of the talks. And to prove it, he went to the government and removed the governor. So the thing is that whatever the governors need to do at this juncture in Nigerian history, they should be truthful and faithful to their office now by appropriately utilizing the security votes so that the insecurity in the country will not escalate.
Now, how does this security vote work anyway in this state? Because the security of the state is practically under the purview of the federal government, which means the state governors have little or no say in the security of their state. So how do you reconcile that?
Well, before I come to that, let me quickly point out that the action of the SERAP in taking governors to court to divulge the amounts they receive their security votes may not actually fly. We have inconsistency. There is an inconsistency in judicial pronouncement. Most we have 2 Court of Appeal decisions, one from Benin, I think the other one from FCT, I can't remember, to the fact that Freedom of Information Act is actually not applicable to states.
Okay, it's a federal act.
You see, so the Supreme Court has actually not given interpretation to that provision. So you see, most of these cases SERAP has filed against the governor, they will rely on the fact that the state governors have not domesticated that legislation. I cannot fly. So the second leg of your question is, can you remind me again?
Yeah, seeing that the security in Nigeria is the purview of the federal government, how does security get to do with government and governors rather? Especially with the fact that they have little or no say in the security situation in their state.
No, it's not that. Governors have they are chief security officers in their respective states.
But the security chiefs in the state, are they answerable to him or the president?
Yes, that is where the problem is. The security chiefs were made up of chief of defense, chief of army staff, chief of navy, air force, and so on and so forth.
And they are answerable to the president. Exactly.
At the federal level, the governor cannot control even the commissioner of police in his state. So, but I think that is why we have clamors recently where governors are saying it is important we begin to have state police. It is important. You see some zones in the country, Motokun, you see some geopolitical zone trying to set up a security outfit to be able to contain. Like
for the Lagos is the Lagos neighborhood.
Neighborhood watch. Indirectly,
we have the Amotekun.
States are trying to build up some security apparatus to be able to support the federal government. But the truth of the matter is that the security of this country lies with the executive, with the president. He determines who gets what, and that is why you have the appointment of some of the security chiefs being lopsided, and there have been clamor for the change of guards or the security chiefs. I wouldn't know the reason behind the president insisting that these people should continue, while I'm aware that almost all of them has reached their retirement ages, and they continue to remain in government based on provisions of, I think, under the harmonized terms and conditions of service for armed forces, the president has the power to continue to extend their tenures. But this doesn't augur well for us. We have seen these people for the past 5 years. Nothing really has changed. It is important we rejig the security architecture of this country. Let us try new hands. The constitution and other laws that make provision for retirement age, there is a philosophy behind it. After a particular age in a man's life, you begin to deteriorate. Your capacity to do certain things begin to diminish. So that is the wisdom behind it. These people have reached their retirement age. Let them go. We have other agile and other members of the armed forces who are willing to take up this responsibility and try a new tactics, because it's obvious that what we have on, I'm not a security expert, I have to make that clear, but I'm a human being, I'm a Nigerian. The issue of security, you say security is a national issue. There's nothing national any longer about the security system of this country. Everybody knows, even a blind man knows, that Nigeria is grappling with insecurity. It is a serious issue.
Okay, now before we go in details, the security chief. Now, let me come to you on that. Let me hear your take on it. The security vote, the states, and of course the security being handled by the federal government. How do you reconcile all these?
If you look at Lagos State, for example, Lagos has a security task force being managed, I think previously by Fola Towori and some other prominent Lagosians. They are the ones that fund all these RRS that you see. They buy the vehicles for them. Apparently they also give them money to buy ammunition through the proper channels. So virtually all the states have one way or the other been helping the Nigerian police in securing the environment. Lagos has RRS, other states have their own equivalent of RRS. So the thing is that depending on the willingness of each governor, any governor that is willing, with the cooperation of people of means in their states, they are always free to help the Nigerian police in securing their neighborhood. If you look at Ikeja, previously, I don't know whether it's still happening because I used to be around this place before. In the evening, you will always find RRS vehicles patrolling Allen and Enviro. Those vehicles, they are not bought by federal government money. They were bought by Lagos state government with the help of, I recall that there was a time that Costaris gave about 30 vehicles to the Lagos police, Ford vehicles, which also aided them in securing Lagos. So the thing is that it is, like my learned friend has said, states have been clamoring right now for state policing. And during the last administration, the PDP administration, it was a major topic, especially from the side of the opposition, the APC. It was like a promise made to Nigerians that when they come in, they will look into state policing. The minute they came in, they jettisoned the idea. But right now, it's an idea whose time has come. We must look into state policing. It's not a new phenomenon in Nigeria. It's been there during the First Republic. It's been there.
Now, but the issue now is, how does state policing come in? Because the Constitution doesn't exactly make provision for that.
No, it is very simple. You see, the Constitution as it is needs to be massively amended. Now, the Constitution in Section 14, like I had mentioned, said that the primary responsibility of the government is the security and the welfare of the people. You see, it says that. No, just come. I'm coming.
Okay.
It says that in Section 14, which is Chapter 2. Chapter 2 of the Constitution of Nigeria is not enforceable in court. You understand? You see, the meat of our Constitution itself, you cannot go to court to enforce it. Which is an irony. Why should you allow these important issues to be in a part of the Constitution that nobody can go to court to enforce? So this Constitution must be amended if this country is to move forward. We need to amend the Constitution to allow for state policing. Just like in the US, we still have something like the FBI there. If the state police misbehaves.
Or is an issue that the state cannot handle, then the federal come in.
They have different jurisdiction. Presently, we have the Federal High Court. That is a specialized court for the issue related to funds of the federal government. You understand? So at least to that extent, they recognize that there are some issues that belong to federal government that certain courts are handling. So the same way too, the federal police will have certain issues that will be handling, while the state police will have the issues that it will handle. So it's a must now. You must have state policing. Because the issue of state policing is also connected to community policing. Most retired policemen are actually pushing the idea of community policing. If you listen to them, so that in each environment, you employ people who are from that environment to the police, people that can speak the language, people who know the culture, so that when people after that infiltrate that environment, they are easily detected. So it's just the way to go.
Now let's take a look at the security chiefs now. The cry for them to be fired is getting louder, and of course you made mention of most of them being in one parts of the country. Now I am just trying to be like in the president's position now, because most of the insecurity issues, especially with insurgency, has been in the northwest, or let's just say in the north in general. Now I don't want to start regionalizing the north now, because it's majorly a north issue, which means if I am the president, it's logical that most of these service chiefs are from there to help or aid in the fight of insurgency in that region. But so far it's not exactly, bringing in the required result of it. So, what do you think in that case?
First, I will adopt my position of my learned friend. These present service chiefs, they are tired horses. Constitutionally, their terms have expired. And like he rightly said, we should inject new blood into the system. They are younger people.
But one may say they are experienced.
You see, whatever experience that you have, there's always a time you need to step aside. People like Winston Churchill, he won the Second World War for the British people. But after the war, the people, they didn't vote for him. He served well as a military head of state, as a military prime minister. But after the war, they say, your time is up. This is peace time. So even we see something had to step aside. So even if Buratai and Oloni Shaki, all these people they are our equivalent of Winston Churchill. It's time for them to step aside, because what they are doing now is not leading result. And the president himself has tactically indicted them. He has indicted them. He said that their base is not enough. So they need to step aside so that new blood, fresh blood, are injected into the system. And moreover, people have been crying out that the Constitution of Nigeria is not being obeyed by Mr. President. You see, Section 217 of the Constitution that established the military clearly states that the officers and the rank and file should be appointed based on federal character. Look, Sultan of Sokoto has mentioned this thing. Northern elders have mentioned it. Father Kuka that he has mentioned it. He said it was nepotistic government in the history of Nigeria. It's the government of President Buhari. Now, you just have all these northerners all over this, you understand? And we are not getting the results. So the thing is that you need to rejig the system. That's why people are asking to resign. Honorable Chinda actually said the president will be impeached. You understand?
Well,
so this is a very, it shows the seriousness of this matter. People are dying.
And the House of the House of Rep are trying to flog him for that.
No, that's politics. They cannot succeed because that man has expressed the wishes of Nigerians. Northern elders have asked the president to resign. Have they not asked him to resign?
Well, we don't really have the culture of resign.
And a serving honorable has also re-echoed what the people have said. The man is our representative, and he has echoed what the people, wanted. So the thing is that it's high time the president takes urgent action. He's a retired soldier, and I've been watching his body language. I've been listening to his words. He's not trying. He's doing as much as possible not to destroy the morale of the military. And I'm watching his words. You understand? Because after this Kankara incident, he actually thanked the military. And if you also look at the surrounding circumstances of the release of those boys,
there's a huge question.
The Air Force were in the air most of the time, monitoring the movement of those boys. That was a good one. It was a good one. And the army actually encircled those boys. But the thing is that it's the grace of God that those boys were saved. Those guys will adore.
And they've really been a serious question mark on how they were released, because
that's politics. The governor of Katsina State, he has a working relationship with bandits. He has pardoned them before. He knows their telephone numbers. And money exchange hands. But we leave that for that. We are talking about the more fundamental issue now. The president of Nigeria and the state of security in the country. You understand? I think that is more paramount. If the president gets it right, the governors will not going to be having meetings with bandits.
So how did you think everything went from bad to worse? Because of course this is not the first time we've been having insecurity issues long before this government came in, and then of course, just like you rightly mentioned, they campaigned under the platform of the security, and at the beginning of the administration, it was looking like, okay, they're beginning to get a hold of the insurgents. And then all of a sudden the thing went from bad to worse. Now it's not just insurgent that they're battling with. Every other forms of crimes, banditry, kidnapping has been on the rise, and this is not an Ember Month thing. It's been going on for months. So what do you think happened? How did you think it went so bad for this government?
That happens to Nigeria happened to the issue of insecurity. When President Jonathan was there at the end of affairs, you recall that he brought in mercenaries from South Africa. And during that election that he lost to President Buhari, the mercenaries were actually achieving results. They were driving out these Boko Haram people. They were not perhaps following the regular rules of engagement. Because they were not our army. They were mercenaries. You know, they would just locate them and exterminate them. But when President Buhari came in, he sacked those mercenaries. Now, they are calling for the return of those same mercenaries. If President Buhari had just continued at that time.
So you're saying it's the relative peace that accompanied the transition of the Jonathan government to the Buhari government was what the government was capitalizing on.
Yes, I think so, because the present government has actually agreed. That's why the idea of bringing back the mercenaries is now back on the table. It's now back on the table. And the mercenaries have actually started talking. I don't know whether they're talking officially with their government, but they've started talking in the newspapers that they're ready to come back. But right now, I think things have gotten worse. Arms are coming in more. Now, the issue of banditry was not that much prevalent at that time. Banditry has now come in, whereby farmers are being taxed before they can harvest. So it's getting worse. But I still feel that let the mercenaries come back. You understand? Then motivate our military.
Okay,
I think the military can do it. Motivate them, give them weapons, encourage them, all that.
Okay, we'll probably need a security expert to tell us more of that. But why do you think we need mercenaries for that? I thought we have military capable of doing this. I mean, we've been helping other parts of Africa to secure, to a region. I mean, at the point, Nigerian army was actually giving lots of good stars, when we go help these other African countries, So why do we now need mercenaries?
It's not security situation or issues in every country. It's local, and you must adopt local solutions to deal with it.
Exactly.
Before now, we were battling with Boko Haram, terrorism, then banditry came on board. So whatever we need to do to ensure we need this in the board, we have to do it.
Including bringing in the mercenaries.
Yes, there's no straitjacket approach to it. Whatever works for us, whatever will ensure that we have adequate security in this country, that's I'm in for. But there are things that happens. You begin to ask questions. The Kankara boys, I understand, over 400 people were abducted from their school.
I mean, the number has been inconsistent anyway.
Yes, of course, it keeps fluctuating. But the question, it's understandable that over at least 300 people were abducted from their school. How were they transported? Let us ask ourselves questions. The problem we have is that the government may have good intention, may have genuine intentions. The opposition may also have good intention in advising government on the proper approach to take. But we always politicize every given situation in this country. And it is high time we begin to have a uniform approach to fighting insecurity in this country. 400 and something students were abducted from their school. How were they transported? Even if you are carrying a chicken, 100 chicken, I'm sure before you move from point A to point B, someone must have asked you, where did you get this from? Where are you going to? And all of that. And 400 plus human beings were transported from their school to unknown destination.
So and the question, and what happened to the checkpoints for a region that you already know, is insecure and needs a lot?
Exactly. That is what I'm saying. When I say it's
military presence,
some people are actually benefiting from this insecurity. Whether anybody wants to hear this or not, people are benefiting handsomely from this development. Is it not somebody that negotiated? I heard that it was even there's a group of persons, I can't recall, that even claimed that they were the one that negotiated on behalf of the government. You see? So at what point do we get to this point? 400 people, and when they were released, Questions, nobody's asking questions. They tell you it's a national security. What is national security about human lives? About abducting 400 people, and you're asking how did they take these people? Where are the parents of these people? Where are the teachers in those schools? Who were interviewed? How were they rescued? Was ransom paid? You see, I don't even understand the wisdom behind trying to hide how these people were being released. Because if you make it open, people will know how to address similar situations in future.
And that kind of give prominence to the rumor that the government have an idea, some of the people, behind the funding of these insurgents, but probably are too afraid, as it were, to do something about it, because that has been the conspiracy theory, that the government have an idea, but the cabals are too powerful for the government to confront.
To even use the word conspiracy theory here may be a little bit out of place.
Okay.
As we speak, some Nigerians have been convicted in Dubai on the grounds of
funding terrorism.
Funding terrorism.
Okay.
These people were investigated. They were investigated for like 3 years. The investigation was like something done by the head bank. They allowed them to operate freely so that evidence could be gotten. Right now, the thing we read in Nigeria was that they can appeal to our Supreme Court. That's what the Attorney General of Nigeria said. So they can appeal to the Supreme Court of Nigeria. He seemed not to even bother that these people have helped us in arresting people who fund terrorism.
But from the interrogation of these people, they should be able to get more information to be able to fish out more people, because if anything, the security situation is getting worse, which means, what they did achieve.
You see, actually, if you look at the anti-terror laws and anti-money laundering laws, universally, there are laws that are connected together. They were made specifically to tackle terrorism. That's why for anybody to transfer funds, dollars to Nigeria, whether if you're an individual or a corporate body, there's a limit to how much money you can transfer. You understand? Then if you want to transfer above $10,000, you must disclose the purpose for what that money was being transferred. So this money was being transferred directly to terrorists in Nigeria. That was the case established against those people in Dubai. So what are we investigating? We have dropped the investigation. Look at the United States. Hush Puppy was arrested in Dubai. Before he was arrested, he was investigated thoroughly by the Dubai police. So they'll just go ahead from that place. You see. So what the United States government is doing about Hush Puppy, they're just getting more information. The foundation has been laid before the arrest was made. This is not Nigeria. It's in Nigeria that you go and arrest somebody when they're still gathering information, gathering evidence, so that you will now go to court, you model up the case. You get smart lawyers come and they just spoil the case for them. So there's a prima facie case against all Nigerians arrested in Dubai funding terrorism in Nigeria. It's established. They have been convicted. So but we just heard that the Attorney General of Nigeria said that they can still come to Nigeria to Supreme Court to appeal. That's nonsense. That's absolutely not. You should be happy that these people have been apprehended. So the issue of terrorism, there must be willingness to fight terrorism. Because if you look at Nigeria, people are not even, what most people are saying is that perhaps it is better that these different parts of the country go their separate ways. Because some people feel that some certain part of Nigeria are not serious about these fundamental issues we are talking about.
So, okay. So now let's take a look at what the lawmakers now can do to help, especially the federal, at the federal level, talking about the Senate and the House of Representatives, the National Assembly. Does the box just stop at just appropriating monies for security, or there's still more they can do? Because obviously they've been trying to work in connection with the executive, via the presidency, which is why they invited the president to come to the House for them to have a talk. But then interpretation of the constitution came into play and politics came into play and the president did not turn up. So what else can the lawmakers do other than just help to sign monies like the security votes and the
Nigeria is not a unique country. We are not a unique country. The constitution that we operate was imported from elsewhere. The United States Senate, when they invite United States President, at critical moments, the president will go. He will be eager to go. President will be eager on his part to even address the nation because he realizes that, you see, his presidency is dependent on the wishes of the people. Because constitution of Nigeria says that sovereignty belongs to the people. So the thing is, the constitution is explicit. Any person, anybody who receives appropriation from the National Assembly for the administering of any part of the country or agency or executing anything thereto from those appropriations can be invited by the National Assembly. You see, and if you look further, the provision of law states that when you are talking about issue of exposing corruption, waste, and inefficiency, presently we have seen military senior officers who have said that the men are not being properly treated at the war front. They are not receiving their salaries as at when due. Even their widows are not being paid appropriately. Even the ammunition our men are using, they are not adequate enough. These are fundamental issues relating to corruption, inefficiency, and waste. But let's not forget, Section 89 of the Constitution gives power to the National Assembly to summon anybody through the Nigerian police to serve them. But the thing is that, what are we running? What are we doing in this country? It's like a Yoruba system, a KBC kind of presidency. That's what we have. That where the king can never err. That's the mentality. It's a mentality. The president has an archaic mentality. That is just the simple truth. He should be eager to address Nigerians. He can use Zoom. He can appeal to them. There's COVID-19. He can use technology and address them. You understand? Because some of these boys said, Kakara boys said, they trekked for 8 hours in the bush. They were fed with animal food. They drank water twice a day. These are young boys. Do you think some of them would like to go back to school? The students in the north, generally now, do you think most of them want to go back to school? Because the school system has become a place of fear. So it's incumbent on the president himself to want to address the nation. It's incumbent upon him. So but if in his wisdom he doesn't want to do it, the constitution is explicit. But like you have already mentioned, this is now politics. Majority of the people in the National Assembly are members of the APC. Anything somebody says against the president, they'll say it's opposition that is saying it. So that's my take on it.
Okay, let me have this.
I think the functions or roles of National Assembly is well provided for under the Constitution. I don't want to agree with my learned friend that the Constitution, is the problem here. Yeah, much as I agree that we still have pitholes or pitfalls in our laws, but we operate a presidential system of government that encourages checks and balances. It appears that Nigerian president is the most powerful president in the world because of the kind of powers allotted to him. So I think it's high time the National Assembly began to review our present or current legislation to be able to whittle down some of the powers of the president. We have to devolve power so that there will be adequate checks and balances. And the National Assembly also should also begin to put into effective use their oversight function. Like my friend pointed under section 88 and 89, they have a power, investigative powers, to look at all those activities of the executive, which they have power to make laws. So, and then the Constitution also stated in, I think, section 217 to 219, that in the appointment of this security or chiefs, what do you call them?
Service chiefs or security chiefs.
You must consider the physical federalism. That is ensuring that the several geopolitical zones
are all represented. This is what we do, or this government is notorious. I'm sorry to say this. This is the most nepotic government in the history of Nigeria. If you look at the appointment so far, and with all of that, we are still dealing with insecurity. Why can't National Assembly begin to enforce the impeachment proceedings against the president? That is part of the mechanism towards ensuring that you put appropriate checks and balances. Nobody is talking about that. No, but the issue is that how would that work with the House dominated by the APC?
That is the problem. And I think that is also, in fact, if you look at the procedure for impeachment, it is, in fact, it will be easier for you to trek to Beijing than to, follow the process enshrined in the Constitution for impeachment. So it is not tenable.
Which means it still boils down to the Constitution.
Yes, I said part of it, of course, I agree. Okay. But there is enormous powers of National Assembly. They have exclusive powers to make laws for the good governance of this country. So part of why I believe Buhari was invited was perhaps to ask him questions bordering on insecurity and see whether there is room for them to make amendments on the existing legislation, or to make a new law that will adequately take care of the situation. Because some of these emerging trends or emerging crimes, they were not here before now. So we must move in tandem with the current reality. So the House of National Assembly should be on their toes. They should not blame anybody. When they initially invited President Buhari, he said he was going to come. I wouldn't know what happened. And the AG turned around to say he cannot be summoned. It's like a semantic gymnastic. Everybody's just using words to confuse us. We know what is happening. Just that nobody wants to talk about it.
And even the House wasn't exactly unified in terms of summoning the president.
After that, the upper chambers even said they were not part of any invitation. In fact, the House of Representatives cannot invite the president.
Which means the House itself is even divided. And if they are divided, how can they successfully summon?
That is why I said we sacrifice Nigeria at the altar of politics. We sacrifice the citizens' interests at the altar of politics. Because at the end of the day, who is going to commence any action against the president? Is it the party members? It is not going to fly. And we know that this president is not in the habit of addressing Nigerians. So calling him to come and answer questions at the National Assembly is like something that he never envisaged. I knew, in fact, as a matter of fact, when Bajamila, I think the House of Representatives, came on air to say Buhari has agreed. In fact, they were waiting for him to give them his own time or date when he will appear. I knew that something was fishy.
You were skeptical about it.
Yeah, because over time, Nigerians have been calling for the president whom they voted to come and address us. Tell us your agenda. What is happening? What have you done? What are your policy, your government policy direction? Where are we headed? Nobody is answering that question. And you now think that he will come and address National Assembly. It's not going to work. There is more to the secrecy in Aso Rock than all of us knows. That is the truth.
Oh, that's interesting. So you were, because this is not the first time we're discussing this issue where the National Assembly has the power to summon the president or not, and I've always had a divided house, because the Constitution has a lot of pitholes, as we've all, but then it looks like there are pitholes that actually give the president the power to remain in his stance of not coming to the House of Assembly to address them on the security issue. So we've had a divided brought two lawyers and they've all saying, okay, the president, the National Assembly has the power to summon anybody, and that anybody include the president. And I have another person that said, the president is not part of the everybody. So which side of the divide do you stand?
You see, the president is a person. But don't let us go to jurisprudence of law. Let's leave that. But the thing is this, you see, I still feel that the Constitution needs to be further amended. In the United States, I think there's this provision regarding the president addressing the people, this State of the Union address in the US. We should have things like that in our Constitution in Nigeria. Maybe you put it that times of national emergency, the president shall or must address the nation. But he may address the nation on television, that's another thing. But the president shall be summoned, or things like that. The latter have to do it by the National Assembly at times of critical national emergencies. Because
right now we are in a critical.
The National Assembly are our representatives. I don't care if it's a boy that is there. I don't have been validly elected to be the National Assembly. They are representing the entire Nigerians.
But unfortunately for us, our representatives are much more surrounded by politics than actually doing the job they're represented for, which is a very big issue.
Immediately we invest that power in them. Every person, any person in Nigeria, including the president of Nigeria, should obey their summon or invitation. You can put any word there. If it cannot be summoned, it can be invited. You know how they can take care of that? He must appear physically to present the budget. That is clearly stated in section 81 of the Constitution. If they now tell him that, Mr. President, sir, if you don't honor this invitation, sir, you are not coming to this house to deliver that budget. That is politics. That can be done. If you have the elderly people in the house, so if you don't do this, we will not do this for you.
But then again, if they deny the president, the budget, it is still the masses that will suffer because the nations run.
Nigerians are suffering because of the inefficiency of the government, because of president inefficiency in sacking the service chiefs. Nigerians are suffering. Sultan of Sokoto has asked for the sack of the service chiefs. Northern elders have asked for the sack of the service chiefs. Are they not important? Is Mr. President more important than all these people? No, it's not more important.
So one last word as we round up. It's time for.
Like I always say, Nigeria is sitting on the keg of gunpowder. And in fact, I don't even subscribe to the idea that we are approaching a failed state. Nigeria is a failed state. It's important to make this clarification. And it takes a concerted effort for us. We are all co-members of this government, whether you are in public service or private sector, whatever you find yourself. But most importantly, the buck stops at the president's table, and he must ensure that the trust bestowed on him by the people of Nigeria is not eroded.
No, thank you so much for your time. Barrister Ayo Osho, thank you so much for your insight and contribution. And of course, Barrister Kingsley Chime, thank you so much for everything. And thank you for being part of the program today on democracy and the rule of law. Thank you so much for staying tuned to Galaxy Television. Next week, Sunday, is another day on Galaxy Television, and the time is 1 o'clock. I remain yours sincerely, Solomon of Compliment of the Season. I'll see you next week.